Good morning. I was glad to be back in Bangalore. I spent 5 years working and living in the city when I was running IBM India. And one thing which has not changed is the traffic. But it's good to be back here. I would like to say thank you to Bharat, Atlantic Council, and the Council General, Richard Burgess. I was with him a couple of weeks ago, right in this room, hosting a dozen of congressmen. And basically, their interest was not only learning about India, but about how do we increase trade between the two countries. And I think it's an appropriate topic to discuss, because as we have an administration which is very keen to balance this trade deficit itself, and India does have a $30+ billion trade surplus, and in any relationship, you got to have a win-win partnership. And I think our objective here is to see how we bring that sense of balance in trade between the two countries. But more important is that when we look at this administration, which is the President Trump's administration, they are driving the relationship with India in two broad principles. One principle is that the economic prosperity of India is good for America. And the reason I say it's good for America is when you look at companies such as Google, Uber, WhatsApp, Amazon, they are operating in a very open business environment and gaining market share locally. And you look at all of them have been shut out in the Chinese market. So I think from that perspective, there's a lot of support from the US business community and the US administration see this economy keep on growing 7-8% in the next 20 years itself. The second principle which is driving this relationship between the two countries is that a military strong India is good for regional stability. And I think on that principle, we have had National Security Advisor McMaster last year. Early part of this year itself, we had Secretary Tillerson, we had the Secretary of Defense. I think there's a very keen focus to work with India to enhance its capability on a defense side, especially in Make in India and building that ecosystem. So I think if you look at just those two principles, that will drive a very strong trade between the two countries. India last year was the #1 destination on FDI, and the largest amount of funds or the investment came from the US companies. This year, first 9 months, when we look at the numbers, India is still leading as #1 destination, and US companies are the lead investors. When we look at the trade, which is around $120 billion, I think we have not realized the potential between the two countries itself. You have an economy in the US over almost $20 trillion, and an economy here which is $2.5 trillion. I think the potential of growth is tremendous between the two countries itself. I just want to congratulate also the Prime Minister Modi's administration on improving on ease of doing business. I think that was a phenomenal success for a large nation of 1.2+ billion people to move a 30 ranking itself. I think that's good for the US business because they're looking at how they can easily do more and more investment across India and keep on working on that. On June 27th, when the Prime Minister of India was in Washington, D.C. for his first meeting with the President, we hosted roughly 20 global CEOs for a round table with the President. And we had people like Jeff Bezos, Tim Cook, Sundar Pichai, all global CEOs. And the consistent message was that we are looking forward to investing more and more and more in India. In fact, the chairman of Carlyle stood up and he said, we have 400 global investments, and our most profitable ones are in India itself. So I think from a US perspective, India is a tremendous opportunity. We are seeing a trend coming in from the Indian companies investing in the US. In fact, last year, almost $12.6 billion investment went from the Indian companies into the US market, creating roughly 54,000 jobs. When you look at the pipeline, Indian companies, especially on the civil aviation, have placed roughly 300 orders of new planes to the US companies itself. That means that you'll see a substantial amount of trade balance getting, coming into more semblance itself. India is for the first time got its first shipment of LNG coming in from the US, and we expect that to go over $2 billion and keep on increasing. So I'm optimistic that in any relationship, in any trade environment, when you find that balance, it's critical that both nations are working in an equitable fashion to have a win-win solution. So on that note, I look forward to staying connected. Thank you very much.